Welcome to the lab. I am Jono, and well, how's everyone doing? Hopefully good. I thought the time had come to make a video, you know, just to change the record. And it's Friday night in a lockdown, and I hope you're all ready to actually get your brains fried for a spectacular video on total nerdery touchscreen stuff. I've never done any videos on touchscreens before, I know, so I know how you're going to feel about this. But I'm going to do a video on a touchscreen plugin called Sherlock by a company called 14bit MIDI. And yeah, I've been using it for quite a while. I was beta testing it for a little bit, and I kind of do unofficially beta test it now. I bought it, you know, so it's not an FR or any of that kind of stuff. So I just figured that a video on it would be quite cool because I've noticed a lot of people have started to use it. It's a plugin called Sherlock. So I reckon we should actually get in the spirit of things and actually go downtown. To Baker Street. Yes, it's where Holmes is hanging out. Okay, grab yourself a bottle of wine because this one's going to be a long one. Sherlock, it's a plugin, and it's designed to be used in an instrument track in Cubase and Nuendo, this version anyway. Basically, it's designed to be in an instrument track as a plugin, not because it carries sounds or anything like that, but because the whole idea of it is so it's native to the system. It doesn't rely. You can use Bohm Network with it. I have used it with a PC, dedicated PC and stuff, and it works very well. But the beauty of it is that it runs natively on your computer as part of the session. And because it's an instrument track, you can load presets, track presets, so you can have different sessions and stuff. Now that is a very good idea, but I've never used it because it was partially my fault for pestering Carol, the developer, just saying, man, these developers just don't give me enough macros, there aren't enough buttons, it's just Mickey Mouse, all this stuff. And so he decided to actually make it comes in pages, and each page is a grid of 16 by 12, which is 192 buttons per page, and there are 18 pages. So he said, you know, is that enough? And I said, it will do for now. It's a good start. And yeah, I've never needed all of that. I've never saved a preset. So the way it's designed, let's go into Cubase so I can actually show you that. Now I've given you a little preamble of what this is all about. Is you load the plugin. So I have this track here, Sherlock, okay, and I'll just go paint, you know, go through the motions of it. You instrument track, load an instrument track, and then you would find Sherlock, and then you click that, and then what happens is this will appear on your screen. This is what Sherlock looks like. Except for it doesn't have that button there. Okay, good. Right, so this is what this will look like. I mean, when you buy this, it has all sorts of demo stuff going on. Yeah, that is my email. Do not email me unless it's a fruitful email. I forgot that was on there. Yeah, right. So basically, this is what happens. This is the whole design of this. Is that this is designed and it's in 1080p. Okay, so if you have a touch screen and it's 1080p, then you just drag this from your main screen, right? I'm pointing there, that's my main screen, and here is my touch screen. So you just drag it down, and now it's a touch screen, right? So you can just play with this. I've got this button here to show you that on the main screen. So we have to try and juggle this, doing this. I can also make it full screen as well. So I'll try and do that, but I keep forgetting to turn it off. So let's go back up here for a minute. What this allows you to do is assign key commands, macros, project logical editor commands, logical editor commands, and all sorts of other stuff. Now, these are buttons, okay? And you have a grid of, here is 16, here's I can never get this right. Here's a row of 16, here's a column of 12, or it's the other way around, I don't know. When you first get this, God, there's so much to talk about. You basically have to pair this. I want to get rid of my iPad for a second because I'm using Yukon as well. This uses Mackie to read the track names. If you see here, there's a track name, and I'm going to have to put this back on my touch screen for a second and put that up. But when I click on a track, can you see the track name here is changing? Okay, so that's synced. This is important for a couple of reasons, but I shouldn't get into that yet. Okay, so the first thing I think that we should probably go through is how to make some buttons. Let's just make some actual buttons first, right? Let's make this full screen. Okay, so let's make a button that creates an instrument track, okay, and an audio track. So the first thing we have to learn in here is play mode, and you click on play mode, and then what happens is this grid of buttons turns into a selection grid, so to speak. You really should read the manual. As in the words of Hans Zimmer, RTFM. Seriously, there's loads of stuff in there. For example, I'm going to get sidetracked so much with this video. Like, for example, here, when you go into edit mode, you need to check that you're on the right version of Cubase and Nuendo. Now, I am using Cubase 11, but May the 1st, Cubase 11 update comes out for this. The Sherlock update it comes out for this, I should say. So you need to go in here and then click on it and find the version that you're using, and that will give you access to all the features for that version. Anyway, let's get back to, let's create an instrument track. So we can select any of these buttons and choose what we want. And when we click on this, you just click on them, right? It will come up with this massive amount of options. Add track, audio options, import options, MIDI options, all the way through to all sorts of custom stuff, user macros, user logical editor stuff, default LE commands, and then all sorts of stuff that's been included in here. Similar stuff that I added in Metagrid as well. You know, like selecting chord, do you want the voice number 2, 3? Transposition, do you want to transpose everything up by 1 semitone, up by an octave? Do you want to add, the add to select is good, so add an octave on top, a fifth, whatever you want. But let's add track. So let's add instrument. Of course, the beach ball. It just never ends, does it? Just pain. It's the misery of audio production, man. I need to stop bitching about it. Okay, so now we've done that, we've got an instrument channel button. So let's get out of play mode. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back into Cubase, and I'm going to hit that button, okay? I'm going to use my mouse just so you can see the actual mouse moving over it. In fact, let's just demonstrate at least one finger press on a touch screen. Otherwise, there will be someone that goes, look, Jono uses a mouse with a touch screen. I mean, it can't be any more ironic, can it? Here we go, right? And voila, just like that, the option to add a track comes up, okay? So yeah, whatever, let's create contact. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to deal with this popping up behind here quite a lot. So another button that actually, whilst this interface for contact has popped up, a button on Sherlock here that says Edit Vst Instrument. If I press that, that brings up the window. Now, I don't use that. To me, that's useless because I have that on my actual keyboard. I use that so much that it's just a button that I need that is beyond a touchscreen, but it's cool to have. You also have next to that retrospective record, which I always have on as default, so I never even need that either. I just have that on, but it's cool again to have. Okay, so let's go back to the touchscreen for a minute. Let's create another button. Let's create an audio track. And let's do a mono track for some guitar tracking, let's say. Okay. Now on here, I don't want to. Maybe I want to call it audio mono. Maybe I'd probably leave the name of it. Let me just show you that working first. So I'm going to hit create audio, see underneath here, see what happens. And there we go. We have a mono track as described by that little single circle there, right? I mean, this thing is deep. Like we could, let's go into edit. And then we rename first selected track. This is a handy button that you could have. This is all Cubase stuff. So I'm on there, audio 2. This, when you're actually just in the zone creating tracks with templates and stuff, hit that and then new track. We can, there we go, just like that. Or, oh, I want to rename it again, you know, whatever. There's all sorts of stuff here. Okay, so this is probably a really good time. I'm not trying to sell you this. I'm not getting paid for this or anything like that. I personally don't give a shit if anyone buys it or not. But I just thought if anyone out there has bought it, then it might be quite handy because I've gone through all sorts of nightmarish situations with this software. And honestly, I've wasted months of my life using this software. So one of the first things you've got to learn about is the saving. There is a save. Let's talk about saving buttons first because there are different saves. We've got these 3 buttons on here and we have all these pages up here. So I should have said that to start with. Here are the 18 pages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way up to 18, okay? Let's say that we're on this video one here, right? This is what I started with. And it's just, sorry, it's badly named. It's just me pissing about, but let's say that I want to go to the one before, CV. Let's say that it's got loads of, I don't know, MIDI editing buttons on it or something. Let's say now, after I've made those buttons and we click on that, I'm on this page now. Just imagine there are loads of buttons on it. We do our business with these buttons. Sounds a bit weird, but now we're going to go back to video. And that was saved from another, I was trying to make this video earlier. But the point is that should be empty, okay? It didn't save anything. So let's just get rid of this. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate this again quickly, just so there's no confusion. Add track, let's add an audio track, let's add an instrument track. My mouse, what the hell? Okay. And I'm on this video here, okay? So I'm now going to go here to my MIDI editing tools, my imaginary MIDI tools, and now I'm going to go back there and they're gone. They haven't saved. And that may not seem like a big deal when you've actually only just lost a button or 2, but when you've been working on these and coloring them and fucking doing whatever you do, and it's creating all your custom ones that take the time. And then you click on that and then actually delete it, then it's a real pain in the ass. So let's just rebuild that quickly. Add track, mono, add track, instrument. Now what you have to do is there's a save page button. So whilst on this page, you click save page and then you click on the page button that you want to save it to. So we've done that now. So now let's try that again. Let's go to CV. Here are imaginary MIDI buttons. And then we go back there and they've saved. So here's a tip. You will mess this up. And the deeper you get with this, let's say that you're building one page, you will mess that one page up. So the first thing at this point that I would do is I would make a copy, which if you notice here, it says main and main copy. I always have a copy of a main page. We'll get to actually saving everything properly in a minute. But so what you do for this is you click Save Page and then click on whichever one you want to save to. And now when I click on video or that one there, they're exactly the same. So that's probably a good way to show how to label these. So let's click on that and let's go. This is how you label everything. Okay, so this actually, I didn't plan this, but that was pretty expertly done. Let's hit the play mode. And when you hit the play mode, this grid here, which we'll talk about as well in a minute, I rarely use this to be honest, but there are many hidden features in this and they're all under each other and stuff. So there are pros and cons to this, to Sherlock. It is not Metagrid. It has got a lot of other stuff the Metagrid doesn't have, but the learning curve is like that. However, you can see my hands. It's not an instant love thing, man. But when you actually start nailing stuff, it's amazing. Beach ball. I'm going to get a button that just brings up a beach ball, I think. Right, anyway, okay, so this is how you name stuff. So go to play mode, and when you hit that, this box turns into a box, like a grid box, where you can type code and stuff. I say code as if I'm in the Matrix. You type keywords and stuff. So I'm going to call this video copy. I don't know why it's called, well, because we're making a video, that's why. Video copy. Okay, so I've hit it. I did that quite quickly without talking like an idiot. So I typed the name, I hit enter, and then I used the mouse and I clicked. And then when you click, you notice this little extra box. This extra box is really important as well. When you click on this, watch what happens on the extra box. Let's make it bigger, shall we? Okay. It says page 05 or number 5, and then it goes back to extra again. That tells you it's saved. So let's test that. Video and video copy. That is the first step of not actually wanting to kill yourself when using some software called Sherlock. The next thing that needs to be explained, I think, is well, while we're actually naming buttons, let's create another button and rename the button. So let's click edit mode and let's create another button anywhere. Let's go here. MIDI. Okay, so I made a video ages ago on essential logical editor commands, for example. Let's create a button to show controller lane data in a MIDI track, and let's have it show modulation, and let's have one showing expression. Okay, so here if we go into MIDI, we've got control lane set up 1, 2 all the way to 16, so we've got 16, right? So let's hit control lane 1. Now controller lane setup 1, I know what it means, and I'll explain what it means to anyone that doesn't understand this in a minute, but it means nothing to anyone. Like, they like using names and terms that they want. So let's call this, the first button that we're going to create is one that will show mod data. So why don't we just call this mod? So you just literally open up this box here, type mod, hit enter or return if you're in America, and then click on it once. And now it is renamed it. I'll do that again with the full screen because that was probably annoying. So let's create one now for expression. We're going to click underneath it. We're going to go to MIDI and control lane setup 2. And now we're going to want to rename this. So let's call it expression. Hit enter, now click on it once. Okay, so I know that this is controller lane 1 and control lane 2. So let's go into Cubase for a second. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so I just want this first one to show mod data, right? So let's get rid of velocity, remove this lane, and every time I open this window, I want the mod to be that big. Okay, you can, this will remember size. So this is a Cubase thing, not a Sherlock thing, but let's say that looks pretty cool. You could have, you know, you've got every octave from C1. So that's quite cool. This is for detail. And then what we're going to do is we're going to save this by adding the preset, and then we're going to call this mod. I'm going to overwrite it because I just made that a minute ago. Now let's let's change this. This is a quick tip. If you want them the same size, just go to expression now, and that's exactly the same size. So you know, let's just draw that in just so we can differentiate the two. And now we're going to add this preset. And okay, so that's going to overwrite because I made 2 earlier. I think 2 is enough to demonstrate this. If we go into organize presets, you'll see mod and expression, and you can't reorganize these. I don't think you can reorganize these. It would be good if you could, but the way that this works with these configurations, if we go back to here, oh, hold on, I've got to get that off the window. Okay, right, if we go back here and go into MIDI, and we got controller lane set up 1, 2, 6, guess what the order is? It is in numerical values. So the first one I named was mod, the next one was expression. The next one I make will be control lane 3 and 4 and 5, and that's just how it works. So if I, let's go to touchscreen. I'm just trying to always think what's best to show. If I press mod, the button here, watch what happens here. It just changed it to mod. If I change that to expression, it just changed it to expression. You know, this stuff's amazing to have. I mean, you can do this with all this stuff you could do with any touchscreen stuff. This is Cubase stuff, but I'm just showing you how to create buttons and how to set that up easily. I mean, let's just do a third one quickly. MIDI, control lane setup 3, and let's do vib, shall we? Vibrato, and then hit enter, and then let's save the page. And remember, we hit save. You will forget to do this on this one. I'm going to go on about this. You hit save page on there, and then let's actually, if you want to go back to here, notice this won't be on there now, right? So make sure you save that, then hit save page again, and then save back on there, and now they're the same. Always do that. Always have a backup. Okay, so we've got vib. Now back into Cubase. Now I'm going to choose 21, and let's just draw a bit of fib data. It's highly prolific vibrato, and then we're going to add a preset after the beach ball is done. I am missing V Pro machines for this save time stuff. Okay, anyway, let's add presets, and we're going to call this vib. Sometimes I do put CC21 because it depends how you unify your libraries. Breath controller CC2 and Cine samples uses that, and you know, it depends what you do, but I try and stick to 21. Anyway, I've just labeled that the third one, so now when I press the third button, see what happens. Change then to 21. Let's go mod, let's go expression, let's go vib. Easy. Okay, so let's have let's talk about this. Let's talk about the next thing about saving, because this is honestly, you're going to need a post-it note on your touch screen that says save on. Okay, this fader here, the reason I have save off is when I'm using Cubase, I do not want this on. And the reason why, this is a feature that Carol introduced because it didn't exist to start with, and save times became horrific. Now, the reason they become horrific is, I guess the only parallel I can think of is like VE Pro. When you work coupled, every time you hit save, it saves. If you've got 4 computers or two computers or one. The more computers you have, the more stuff you've got, right? When you hit save, it will save not only everything in the Cubase session, but it will save everything in the V Pro session as well. And this does exactly that. Like, you save Cubase, and then this has got like 60,000 commands and stuff going on between, I think it's between the two. I might have got that wrong. It might be 60,000 just for this. Basically, if you have save on, and then because you have auto save on, that is going to save all the time. And my save time's like 2 minutes with that on, because I've been doing some other stuff. So what you need to do is work with it off. But because you're going to work with it off, you're going to forget to put it back on. And this is why I was joking saying you need a post-it note. Basically, when you save, the way to save this now is to actually save a track preset, okay? But if I saved it as I am right now, I guess the only way is to show you this, but one save for me is like 2 minutes of waiting. So I don't really want to do it at the moment. And it's just because I'm going to show you what my template looks like in a second. Basically, you need to save a preset. So let's just go through the motions of it. Do this, save a preset, and then click OK. That will then, if you save it like this, that will completely make your save file empty. It wipes it, right? So when you actually save this, you need to remember to hit save on, and then you save your preset. If you save Cubase and you have that as red, as save off, Cubase will save, but it will also save that this has got nothing in it, like absolutely nothing. So when you load Cubase, it will be empty. And your project, when you start, the save file is 1.5 megabytes. When it empties, it's like 64 kilobytes. That's how you know if it's been destroyed. So you have to remember to have that save on at all times when you're saving. And believe me, it's a drag. So what I do to get around this is, once I've created my template, or as far as I want to create a touchscreen template, I save the preset, I hit that, and then I save the preset. But what I do is this. Oh, my nose is itchy. I right click and I reveal in Finder. Hold on. Okay, so I right click on the save and I reveal in Finder. And what I do is I right click, I get info, and I then turn this to read and write, and then I save the file, and then I read only. Because when I do that, and this sounds like such a ball ache, and it is a bit of a ball ache to be honest, but when I make them read only, let's get out of this quickly before it does decide to save. Because it's read only, I can work with the save off. I can work with that being save off. And then when you save Cubase, you can still save it with save off. And you've already saved the preset. So all you have to do when you load up Cubase is just load your preset. You just literally load it up. And I can't really give you any more advice about the save feature. No matter, even though I've just explained that, you will forget to do that. And you'll forget to do it enough times until you realize that you don't ever want to do it again. It's just a real bitch. However, that's what you got to do to save the features. Let's actually have a look at some other cheery stuff though. Basically on here, I'll show you what you on these buttons. You can have custom PMGs. Like when you get this, Carol's provided, like, you know, all this. It looks like BBC CFAX, you know. It's like, it looks really old and stuff. But you know, if Apple designed an app, it wouldn't be Lima, it wouldn't be OSC or Sherlock. It would be Metagrid, wouldn't it? But Metagrid's much more for people that just want an easy life, that, you know, and you use just an iPad. If you want a bigger screen and stuff, this is the reason I like Sherlock, is because it's native to the system. And it's not just because I don't really even care. In fact, I don't care at all that it's part of Cubase. I care that I've got a 27-inch touchscreen that I can drag Safari on, or I can drag Contact, because Contact can't be resizable. So you go blind looking at it, but you can just put it on the 1080p screen and it looks absolutely marvelous. You know, let me just do that. So all of a sudden you could just read that because it's a 1080p, and you can drag Slate plugins on, and guess what? It's exactly the same as the Raven, right? So you don't need to buy a Raven, just buy an Acer or whatever. That's what I like about Sherlock. But yeah, it starts out, it gives you all these buttons, like for ideas and all this kind of stuff. And what it means is that with these PNG buttons, you can actually, with these buttons, you can actually load up PNG files, right? So once upon a time, I spent a lot of time making PNG buttons for my custom template, and I didn't know about that saving problem. Every time your computer crashes, right? Every time your computer crashes, which obviously with Cubase is never, right? If you have save off and you haven't saved your preset and you have a crash, it will wipe it. And I know somebody that happened recently, and I got in touch with them because I've been through that pain and I knew exactly what had caused it. So yeah, if you have a crash, it will wipe it. If you save it and the save fader is off, it will wipe it. You must have that save fader on when you save it. And then, like I said, like as a fail safe, you don't have to do this, but as a fail safe, I make mine read only, and then it can't wipe anything at all. But anyway, back to this. Custom PNGs for buttons. I'm going to, like I was trying to say, I used to have an entire page nearly with everything all custom made. I started making, it's why Carol's got some like hand-drawn things in there, because he liked an idea I did with hand-drawn biro and stuff. And man, I spent months of just nonsense, just when I was out of work and stuff, just doing that kind of shit. And unfortunately, I don't have a whole screen like that anymore, but I started putting one together not so long ago. So I'll just click on this. And yeah, okay, so you can see I guess it's easier to see the whole thing like that. Yeah, so these are all hand drawn, and these are buttons that just have frames round, and these are buttons that have no frames that are colored. These are part of Sherlock, so you can make it custom to whatever you want. I will at some point if I ever have time to actually do this, but I guess me having this touchscreen here showing you this, it's a bit more fun, isn't it, than not having any buttons at all. But we'll get to this page in a minute, just so I can actually show you stuff that I've created. But let's go back to our very promising start. Firstly, something that you got to remember on here are values. Like here you have, this is quite handy, this click volume, right? I mean, I use the control room in Cubase over to the right, so I don't really care about it. But if you don't use control room, that's actually quite a nice little feature to have. But these do a lot more than this. MIDI velocity, again, it does quite a few things. But for example, if you have this track slider, have I shown you that yet? No, I haven't. Okay, so if I turn that off, down here there's a track slider, right? Where you see the mouse. If I drag that to the right, you see what happens on the screen. It allows me to select through tracks. If I turn the track slider off, I can't remember how to do that. There's so many things I haven't learned and can't remember. But there's a way of actually having the cursor go across and stuff like that. I don't personally use this because in my big template, I have so many hidden tracks. It relies on buttons. Like these buttons here on the right hand here are library selection buttons that just find libraries and stuff. I don't want the track selector going through hidden stuff. I just want it to go through stuff that is visible. So for me, I don't really use it. But as I was just saying, this stuff, there's a lot of features that you have to learn, which is kind of the con here. But Let me put this here. Okay, so if I put MIDI velocity up to 127, and then I double tap with my finger on the track button. I'm using the mouse so you can actually see it, because you can't see my finger. Okay, again, just in case someone's just come in and go, he's using a mouse on a touchscreen. I'll start a new fashion. Use them. Why actually get a touchscreen when you can have a trackball and a touchscreen? Anyway, double click on the track button and look at what happens. All of a sudden, we have XY pads. I don't want the fucking track slider on. Okay, so we've turned the track slider off. Good. Right, so yeah, we've got XY pads here, and we can assign basically MIDI values. Oh God, I haven't done this for ages. CC equals 1. Yeah, there you go. So then we can have that as CC equals 11. You have to forgive me on this, because I haven't assigned these for ages. Anyway, you could see that these change. Maybe you could. Before we get into any of that stuff, right, so let's go through that again. If you have MIDI velocity and you have that 127, and then double click on that, it brings up 2 XY, which they're really cool for synth stuff, man. And think of like that Embertone Friedlander violin and stuff that has like an XY pad thing on it, and you can actually blend the articulation stuff, the capsule stuff in orchestral tools as well. But here's something else that's cool. If you make these both at 127 and we double click, we can have 4 XY pads. So this is pretty cool. Now, if we have track slider on and have these not at 127, then we have 16 faders to play with, which are automatically, they're set up with track quick controls and track controls. I've probably just said that wrong, but sorry, making videos is a stressful thing. But what we can do, let me just show you, like something Metagrid has never yet produced. CC faders, right? This is an amazing thing. You could have all 16 here for your, I don't know, Hans Zimmer strings. Like that's got like 16 mic faders. You have all your mics there, just suddenly at the press of a button. Okay, so let's go on to this Woodwind part. I want to draw in some mod data. So notice down here, it says CC 101. Now, I know how we do this, CC1. And then I'm going to click on the fader, okay? See that, CC1. Then we're going to go out of edit mode, and then we're going to save the page. And what we're going to do is we're going to, yeah, that'd be cool. In fact, yeah, if I drag my finger on this fader, that should, you see the mod data on the track? Let me use the mouse as well. It's multitask. Oh, I can't, you know, it hijacks the mouse. See here, the value here, it should, when you use the mod, it should show that. So I'm going to use my finger now. In fact, I'll use the mouse so you can actually see it. Okay, and can you see the value going down? So let's actually, let's write some mod. I'm going to hit record. There you go. I'm just using the fader. How amazing is that? Okay, so let's do the next one. CC equals 11. And now that CC is 11. Then we're going to save that. You should always get in the habit of saving the pages. Just save, save, save. And let's go back and let's just ride the 11. Of course, we can't see it, right? Because, you know, we actually haven't got that button there. But, right, so I want to get rid of the faders now. Double tap on the track at the bottom. Okay, sorry, I know you couldn't see Cubase then and stuff, but yeah, look, we couldn't see CC11. So what we can do is go on to our video page, and there we go. That's what it was like, which is probably a good thing to actually show. Actually, let's create another button that's really useful. MIDI show use controllers, and there you go. So now we can see what we've got. Yeah, that's how you assign the faders, man. So you've got XY pads and you've got assignable faders, and you can use quick controls as well. They were originally designed for quick controls, but I was bitching about it for so long, man, that I said, I want to just be able to control MIDI data and mic positions, man. I don't just want to actually use track controls and stuff, man. I don't really use that shit. Now, let's show you something, because I've got to show you the custom macros. I've got to show you how to put a custom LE command in, and I've got to show you how to put a custom PLE command in. And I think that that's probably a good place to stop with this stuff, because it's just, I mean, a lot of this, you should read the manual. Okay, actually, here, if I put this here, I've shown you how to rename a button, okay? So play mode, modulation, there you go. Expression. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how to see these here. Maybe you don't want the word MIDI there. These are called categories, and they've all got them. See, add track there. Let's do another one. Devices. It says devices there. So I'm going to show you this coordinate thing actually. So if we go in the play mode and then hit at, and then cat, standing for category, and then say 2.4. See how that is 2.4? Just hit enter and don't close it, and then we're going to use the color chart at the bottom. You see it's changing the name of devices. So I want to just hide it. I'm going to drag it all the way to the left, and now it's disappeared. So let's do 6.4. And do it again. See, Metagrid wins on this kind of thing because you can just literally just it's got loads of graphic stuff in there that is just so easy to use, but I'm just showing you that you can actually get rid of this. Okay, so you get the hit on that. Let's actually change the frame. I want to change the frame color of this green to red. So we're going to type the word frame, and we're going to put 2.4, and then I'm going to move the color chart, and you see how it changed color? I bet you thought I was colorblind then. No, it's not blue, Jono. There wouldn't be any shame if I was. Anyway, yeah, so that changed the frame. It's just, honestly, there's so much stuff you can do. You could color in the backgrounds. You could change the font size at font size. Yeah, okay, let's show you that because that needs a font size 2.4. So you're getting a hit of why these coordinates are really important. So let's type, we have to use MIDI velocity for this. 10. Did you see how it changed the size? Let's go 50. Too much. It's better to type it in, I think. 20. Audio connections, probably go 18. Okay, so that kind of looks dog shit. So what I would do in this case is I would type audio. If I type audio connections, it's not going to do anything, especially if I misspell it. So here's a little tip, actually, how to name stuff. And this works for buttons up here and buttons down here. So audio connections, if you want that to be audio and then have the word connections underneath it, what you should do, good God, when the beach ball stops, man. This, if you had the save fader on, this would add another 2 minutes on top of this. The reason it's taking that long to save is not Sherlock because it's off. That is how many, I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I have got 242 instrument tracks on a Mac Pro 5.1s and they're all active. There's nothing frozen. So, I mean, I'd say this is doing pretty well. But anyway, if you want to have this as audio and then connections underneath it, then basically this is how you do it. You hit space, all right, hit enter, and then job done. But now, obviously, the font's too much, right? So we need to change font size. I did tell you it'd be a bit geeky, right? You have to remember all this stuff. We'll have the manual. So we're going to change that now to 15. Oh, okay, maybe it won't work with that. That's really weird. Hold on. Yeah, no, maybe it doesn't work. It will work like that, but I've got to have more. If the font is smaller, then you need more spaces. So this is like quite a hack job, really. There you go. And then I guess we could change that now. Yeah, okay. So I would probably avoid doing that. Let's just say that we actually have. Okay, here is a good feature. One that I requested a long time ago. When you've got an entire grid of buttons, I said, how do you delete buttons easily then? Right. So he introduced the feature of whereby you hit the word D, the letter D, and then you just delete stuff. I don't want that. I don't want that. Of course, because we haven't saved any of this, it doesn't mean shit anyway, because you got to remember to save, right? So let's go to my template now. Okay. The whole screen is full of buttons. So let's say that you wanted to, you see these buttons here, the reset, the recording editor. I've left these specifically like this to actually show you this, and I'm glad I've remembered because I would have easily gone off on a tangent. Firstly, what's annoying the shit out of me is that these aren't red borders. And this is all temporary stuff, man. It wouldn't look like this eventually, but I want these to be red. I also, for the reasons of demonstration only, because I couldn't care about this, but I want to swap the buttons. So what we can do is go into play mode and type in the word swap and hit enter. Now, to swap a button, you just hit on the one you want to swap, then notice up here it comes up with swap with. So let's switch the reds to the whites. Let's swap, reset over there, and then you saw that swap. Now, recording editor, hit once. Now I want to swap it there. Okay, and once you've done that, once you're happy with that, save. Now I want to copy the red borders, but I don't want to copy the functionality. The way this technically works is that even when you delete a button, it's never deleted. It's just layered with a different command, or it just hides the writing. So when you save it, even an empty page is saving 192 buttons. So that's kind of how it works in a really basic term. But I want to copy the frame, right? So the way to do that, this will copy the look of a button. If you type in XC, okay, and I'm going to press it on the red, and you notice here it says XV. I'm going to push on one of these, and it just instantly copied And now I'm going to copy that. And it also copied the font size, which kind of buggered that up a bit, but we can change that. At font size, this is where it's important to have the numbers, 9.9. I don't particularly enjoy this clunky kind of thing. It annoys me a bit, but it's how it is. Sorry. Font size 9.9. Okay, let's try 10. Too much. 12. 13. 14. 15. Anyway, okay, so that's how you you copy the actual buttons. So you've got to remember XC and CV, and then save once again. So something else that Sherlock allows you to do is it offers dynamic button mapping, and what that means is it's bi-directional communication. If I've got to minimize this. In fact, let's make it bigger again. If you see here, these buttons here, they're all labeled 1 to 16. So 1 to up to 8, 9, up to 16. These are all program changes. And I've put these in here because I'm trying expression maps. Have I paused it or not? Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Right, so here we've got program changes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've just labeled them just so you can see what they are. Okay. And there was kind of like some method to this page, you know, it just needs some color and stuff like that. But when the beach ball of death just stops, then we can carry on, can't we? Okay, cool. So if I minimize this just so you can still see the touch screen, I'm going to click on these tracks here and notice, pay attention to these buttons here. Let's call this the box. Jono's box. Jono's basket. Right. I'm going to click on this and notice nothing changes, right? Because the way that this is designed currently is that you give every track an ID, a Sherlock ID number, right? So nothing's actually happening right now. But I'm going to now go on to another track of Symphonic Winds and see what happens when I click on Piccolo Flute. Okay, so now we've got legato, long flutter, long harmonic, multi-tongue, staccato, marcato, tenuto, and trills. Now I'm going to go on solo flute. It changes again and again. Let's make this full screen just so you can see that. So using bi-directional communication, we have essentially got a contextual menu system. Now you could make the entire page contextual. Everything could change. But a warning, when you save each one, it saves another 192 buttons. I mean, that's not strictly true. If you save the whole page, it will save 192. But this is totally possible to actually have, let's go back here. This is totally possible to have a grid of buttons that will change, and you could unify them all. You could buy those Babylon Waves expression maps that are unified. You build them yourselves, do whatever you want. But the fact that you can do this in here is amazing. So, I mean, I don't want to get too much into the expression map thing. I just want to show you that this actually works. So let's go on to Berlin Winds. And you see these are all changing. Okay, so let's do solo flute. Okay, and I'm going to click on legato. And now I'm going to hit multi-tongue. Staccato. Long hollow. long flutter. And let's go to clarinet A2. Let's go staccato. Okay, so maybe I actually want to go Junkie XL brass. Let's go horns. Sustain legato. This could be very powerful. So I think that demonstrates like the joy of that, man. I mean, like, it's amazing. I don't want to go too much into the expression map thing because I'm going to make a video on this anyway. I'm going to replace all of this stuff in this track using them to see if the workflow is better, because I really want to. I can't help but feel that that feels amazing to actually just suddenly, I'm on flute 1 of Berlin Winds, and instantly, and I can, when I hit the buttons, it will record the data. You know, I have to show the controller lanes, of course. Oh. Yes. Yeah, what an idiot. Okay. Yeah, so I guess let's just show that. Honestly, I didn't want all that shit to be playing. I don't know what I've turned off, but it should actually have that data record. That's something I'd have to look at again. I mean, to be fair, this isn't a video about expression maps, but I had it working last night. But anyway, when you press the button, it should record the data, which is what makes it so good, because it's just instantaneous and stuff. But I don't know. I'm on the fence with the expression map thing at the moment. I'm just showing you that you can actually have this work, and you know, it definitely it's definitely powerful. Instantaneously cutting down your track count by hundreds of tracks. I mean, the entirety of Berlin Winds is this, excluding Time Machine patches. The entirety of Symphonic Winds Spitfire is that, and the entirety of Junkie XL Brass is this. I mean, that's not a massive library anyway, is it? I mean, it sounds massive, but you know what I mean. Now, okay, so what about custom commands? So here's a custom command. Okay, so CC21, I just drew that in there. I don't want that there. Oh, for God's sake, man. 7 minutes is the 7 minutes is the autosave time for me, but it still feels like it comes up too often. But if I do it any longer than that, everything goes to shit. Anyway, I don't want this here anymore. So on my touch screen, I have delete CC21. So let's press it. There you go. It's gone. What else have we got? Show use controllers. I do have a button that will delete all CCs, so should we do that? There you go, all CCs have gone. Obviously that stuff does not come with Sherlock. I showed a video on how to make stuff like that ages ago. If you got any requests for any commands like that, then leave them in the comments, I guess, and maybe maybe we can get round to doing some again. But I guess we should do two more things, and that is show you how to assign a custom command, because you need to know how to do this really. Okay, so first things first, let's have a look in the main options that we have. Let's go back to our video here so it's empty. I want to delete, let's do that. Let's delete mod data. Okay, so we're going to make a button, and let's just have a little look and see what we've got here. Let's go through. This is just something you have to learn. These are all commands for Cubase, okay? And there's all sorts of stuff in here, all your quantizing buttons, everything. But what we're going to want is an LE command for deleting mod. So let's have a look at default. I know it won't be in here because it just isn't. But it's a shame it's not in here because, you know, it'd just be so easy, wouldn't it? But it's not. Nothing's ever easy. So here are the user macros, LEs and PLEs. And you've got logical editor, the PLE, and then macros, okay? And notice how these are named, okay? This is another slight con of this. But to be fair, Metagrid didn't have any of this stuff in. Like, you had to manually create it. The only reason the MIDI stuff's in there is because I gave it to them, and then they coded it in. If you, let's not get too into this of how it works, but it's a similar thing. You use XML sheets, and it links to stuff. But basically, in order for us to actually create a command for Sherlock to read, it will read anything in the LE folder, the PLE folder, and the macro folder. But in order for it to actually register an LE command, it needs to be named exactly like one of these. So LE, I'm gonna use 256 as an example because I haven't used 256. I know I shouldn't tell you that, Carol. I should say we need at least another 1,000 commands, man. But I'm going to use 256, and they've got to be spelled exactly like this, right? Same with PLE commands and same with macros. And this is how you assign them. So what we're going to do first, we're going to create a button. I wish that this entire menu system was fixed, but there was a reason why you couldn't do it. See, this annoys me, this kind of thing. Okay, so user macros, logical editor, 256. I'm just going to leave it labeled as 256, but we are going to save the page. Okay, so now we're going to go in Cubase, and this is possibly one of the biggest bugbears of Sherlock because there are so many commands. Sorry, let's get out of here. Okay, oh, you didn't miss anything anyway. Because there are so many commands, this takes forever to open stuff, and if you want to create a logical editor command, it takes forever, right? So something I do when I'm making loads of stuff is I actually get rid of the 14-bit MIDI stuff in the folders, which you already know where are because you've installed this, right? So you know where they are. The logical editor commands and the PLE commands, they're called 14-bit MIDI. I copy those out, reload Cubase, and then it's instant. But for this video, I'm not going to do that because I have to restart everything. So what we have to do is we go into key commands, and notice how long this takes to load. I'm going to have some water while we wait and ponder. What a Friday night, man. What a Friday night. Right, okay, so that's how long it took, okay? This can get quite annoying. So in here, right, do you see in this massive list of macros, Okay, we have macros. I'm jumping ahead slightly. Let's on the touch screen. Of course I can't, and I'm not going to close that, otherwise we have to wait again. I'll just have to talk about it, and then we can show it in to give proof this is fact. Okay, so macro hashtag 001. That's exactly how you spell like anything that's in the list for macro that wants to be picked up on one of these buttons. Let's forget about macros and let's just go logical editor and focus on that for a second. Okay, so we're going to have a little look in process logical preset, and here is my little treasure trove, and here is a lot of 14-bit MIDI commands in here as well, right? And there's so much stuff in here with this added, and so much of my stuff as well. Right, so here we go. LE, this is where they're saved, okay? And you can see that they go up to, I've actually only got 77 made, so there is another folder that you go into for 14-bit MIDI. I'm just showing you where your saved ones will be, right? So I'm going to make one in a second that is 256. So let's get out of here. Let's logical editor. God, it's been a while since we've opened you. This is a horrendous wait time as well, okay? And this is all because of the 14-bit MIDI commands. But, you know, there are so many in there. Once you don't have to do this stuff, you've seen how easy everything is that works. Here's the folder of 14-bit MIDI stuff. We don't want any of that. This is all my own stuff. Here's the Metagrid stuff, which is all my own stuff, but I have it on here for different reasons. Custom shop. So what I'm going to do just to save time is I'm going to select a delete mod, and then we're just going to rename it. And when we rename it, it's going to be saved in here. And as I just showed you in the folder up to 77 we got, right? I'm going to save LE hashtag 256. Okay, so delete all CCs. Okay, so delete mod. Here we go. This, unfortunately, we have to wait. Like, oh man, you can't see this, can you? Oh, God. Sorry. This is how long it takes with all those commands, okay? And to be fair, I have got loads of my own as well, so it might take a little less for you. Or you might have more than me. You probably do. Probably dirty little logical editor thieves, aren't you? Collecting and hoarding. It's like it's probably a black market for this kind of shit. You know what I mean? There's people just collecting MIDI packs, for example. I'm going to start releasing MIDI packs and undercutting people. That's going to be my business, man. You think you're going to get a good deal, but you come along my way and I'm going to sell you one for $1 less. So as you can see that this is totally unusable like this. Right, so now I can edit this, right? So say I can make whatever, edit this, but what I want to do is I want to save this. So I'm going to save this as LE space hashtag 256, because that's what it's called. And then we're going to click OK. And now we've got to wait for that to save. Can you imagine doing this every time? Like, it's just, you can't do it. It's impossible. So that is one of Sherlock's huge flaws, the waiting times, man. But, you know, you just drag it out and then you don't have any waiting times at all. Carol originally called this CPU. And I sort of laughed like I just did, just because I said, do you not think that might get confused with something else, like CPU? So he decided to change it and the smaller version to something else that's massively known called Sherlock and Holmes. However, I do prefer those names. Okay, so I've changed that LE256. So let's go back onto the full screen here. And we're going to just check this. Yeah, okay. So LE256, because let's just remind you what I did, right? We're going to click here, we're going to go down to here, and then we're going to go to Logical Editor, User, Macros, LE and PLE, right? Logical Editor, and we're going to go to 256 LE hashtag 256. Then we're going to rename it, delete mod. Here would be a perfect time for me to demonstrate you the double line thing, right? So normal writing, make the space huge, hit enter, and then that will work like that. I wouldn't do that, but it looked fine as it was. If you don't like it, just retype it. Okay, we're going to save that. Now we're going to get rid of this, and we're going to go in here. We're going to use the mod button because we can. Oh God, I've got to do all that again because I was being a tart. Okay, hold on. Okay, so you saw all that stuff with the touch screen. Okay, now we're going to go into here. And like I just said, we are going to go into the mod. And then let's draw some mod data in. And let's test this button out now. Let's hit on here. Let's hit delete mod. Hopefully I named it right. Oh, I didn't even hit it, did I? There you go. I don't know why I didn't want to start, but let's try it again. Delete mod. Easy. And that is how you add your own commands. So the same thing goes for PLE commands. You would go into the project logical editor. Okay, yeah. I so rarely go into any of the menus or anything. This is going to take forever, so I'm not going to do it. Oh my God. Okay. Obviously 14-bit MIDI. If you're unsure of how to actually make this quicker, like I was just saying, this is the folder structure. If you go to library preferences, I can't remember what it is on PC because I haven't used it on PC for a while, but find the root folder and find the preferences folder, Cubase 10.5, whatever you're in, then in preferences, and then find the 14-bit MIDI and make a folder and call it Project Logical Editor Backup or whatever, and drag that out of it, and do it when Cubase is closed. Don't do it when it's open. Otherwise the XML sheets will crash. Anyway, yeah, do the same thing. Select whatever the hell you're going to do. You know, PLE commands are good for library selection. So I don't know. Let's say that you wanted to just show damage. You'd create damage. You would create whatever button you want, right? And then you would label this PLE space hashtag 001 or 256, and then that would be done. And then back here, you would just instantly create the track, and then go to Project Logical Editor and find 256, and then name the track, and then job done. Well, you know, I'm feeling like you've got off lightly with the complete techno babble that I could go on about, but I think that that's probably a good place to stop with this, really. I mean, like, there are buttons, spotting buttons. These buttons are useful for, you can actually save a spot on the timeline. Let's say that you wanted spot 1 on bar 12. We're going to get rid of that. And then we just hit save spot. Okay. And it should work. Oh, I've probably forgotten something. God. And hold on. Yeah, I have to read the manual again for this. Basically, you'll have to remember something, some number. But what this does is when you actually find a spot that you want, like bar 13, you save it on spot 1, label it. Then on spot 2, you would have it on 21. And they're like markers, basically. And same with the selection. I'm now waiting for the beach ball again. I'm just thinking if there's anything else that I should talk about. I mean, let's have a little look at some of this other shit in here, man, because there's so much stuff. Okay, so apply scale. You can apply this to anything. Yeah, look here. If you want the CC buttons, there is stuff in here that does this. Like add. Do you want to add 10 to all CCs? Do you want to add 10 to CC1, CC2, CC7, CC11, CC1 and 10? Colorize the tracks, length and position, MIDI lengths, move selected events, select what CC data, select in pitch, select track. Like, honestly, there's a lot of stuff. This as well, this is in Metagrid because I gave a lot of these as well, but these buttons in here are note selection buttons. So let me show you these. We're going to go onto my page. Okay. So these are all quantized. Let's show you a couple of buttons on this. I'm going to select all, and then is this quantized? This is quantized. Okay. I hide the touch screen just quickly so you can see this. I'm going to select all the notes, all the data I should say, and then I've got, these are Cubase features. Let's put the touch screen back in just so you can follow this. Here are zoom buttons, right? So there's zoom to selection. This is just a Cubase thing. This is super useful. Hit zoom to selection and it zooms to the selection, right? And then undo zoom. Zoom to event, zoom to horizontal selection, zoom to locators. They're all sorts of funky stuff. But okay, so now we've zoomed into that. I'm going to show you these. I'm just going to show you two of them. Right here, we've got note selection. Okay, so I'm going to press 4-1. Oh, I've actually jumbled these up. Okay, I'm an idiot. Okay, so perfect opportunity. Let's swap them. I'm going to swap that with that, that with that, and that with that, and that with that, that with that, and that with that. And now they're all in order again. And then save. Okay, so let's get rid of the touchscreen so you can see. I'm going to press the top one, 1 and 1. You see what happened? Every single downbeat on the 1 just got selected. So now I'm going to press 2 and 1. All the 2 and 1s got selected. Now 3 and 1. And then 4 and 1. This is incredibly useful, having these kind of buttons. When you're programming ostinatos or drums and you just want to bring the kick drum up and stuff and not fuck around with everything else, man, you can instantly press this. LE commands as well. I mean, every single note selection is in there, like for 16th, I think 32 as well. LE buttons that I've actually got on here. Select velocity. Let's actually show velocity, shall we? Okay, so so there's a range of different ones here. So on the touch screen, let's just put that there so we can at least see it. here we've got select notes. So I'm going to select velocity 121, 127. They should select the ones at the end, and they have. I'm going to select 0 to 20. And it's selected all the 0 to 20. So now let's say that I wanted all those 0 to 20. I want them to be fixed. On my template, I've got fixed velocities 11, 21, 31, 41, 51, 61, up to 127. So I want to change all those now to 41. And that's what that's just done. But let's undo that for a second, right? Let's do something much more useful. I'm going to undo all of this. I'm going to do the downbeats. So let's select, I'm going to press 1 and 1. And now it's selected all the downbeats. And for shits and giggles, I'm going to make them all 111. And I'm now on every half bar, I'm going to make those 91. You see how quickly you can start editing MIDI data. These are custom commands that I could easily show you how to make those. But yes, Sherlock. What a joy it has been. What a Friday night frolicking. Let me know of any thoughts, and obviously there's tons of other stuff that I just have probably skimmed over and stuff, and you know, I need to remember how to actually link the XY pad and stuff like that, because that's amazing with Omnisphere. But yeah, there's loads of things to remember. Right now I'm in expression map mode, so I've remembered all the values for creating ID numbers and stuff like that. That I will show in another video, because to be honest with you, this is all stuff I just learned by reading the manual. So just read the manual. Anyway, have another glass of wine on me.